Mornings with Intention podcast where we bring you stories from around the globe. Hello, and welcome back to another amazing episode on Rise and Thrive Mornings with Intention. And today I have a returning guest with me, Cathy Derksen. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me back.
You're welcome. I'm so glad to see you again. It's been a while. And of course, you have so many amazing things to share. So let's get into it. But first, please tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from.
Hmm. Where I'm from, I live near Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada. And a little bit about me. Let's see. Well, the main thing I do is create multi-author books, mainly focused on giving women a platform for sharing their story, building their business, building community. And all of the books that I do are international. So it's a great way to really build your global network as well. So that is one of the main things that I'm up to.
Awesome. So glad to hear all that. I was reading a little bit more about you, and you call yourself a disruptor and catalyst. What does that mean to you in the context of your work and with Inspired Tenacity?
Perfect. Well, a big part of the big picture of the work that I do is really centered around helping midlife women to see the opportunities and possibilities that are around us. We've spent many decades being told that after 50, we're old and obsolete and no one needs us anymore. And the whole idea of doing something completely different after you've worked for the same job in 30 years and just things like that. And so a big part of what I'm doing with the books and with my other work is really around helping women, like disrupting that whole mindset that when after 50 we're just supposed to quietly disappear. Because especially when we these days we have to plan to live into our 90s or possibly our hundreds. So really, we've got a whole other block of 30 years to do something productive, and why not make it something you're excited about? So that's a big part of my disruption and being a catalyst is really helping, spark that idea that there is more to life and doing new things is fun.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. And I like that because I know there's people that do the same thing for the whole life and they're happy with that. But I find there's another group like us who are really wanting to explore life to the fullest. And yeah, I've done certain things to a point and then I've changed and I've changed again. And then it was funny because I was reading a comment today from somebody I used to work with. He's like, "Oh my God, look at you go. Working with you from a warehouse to having your own books." And I was like, that felt good to read that comment. So I think personally anything is possible. And if you really want to achieve something, go and do it. Why sit around? Like you said, we just because we're getting older doesn't mean we have to slow down at all.
No, exactly.
So you've become 20 times number one best-selling author. Wow, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What was that you drew you first to into the world of books? Like what was it? Did something happen? Did somebody spark that idea in you? Can you tell us about that, please?
Yeah, no, I always love to say if you'd asked me 5 years ago if I was going to become an author and get into publishing, I would have laughed at you because 5 years ago, none of this was even on my radar of something I was going to do. And really, the first book that I participated in, it's a local group here near Vancouver. They'd been doing a few books before that, and I had never felt that was something I needed to do. And then they had one come up, and it was called Emotional Intelligence, Mental Health Matters. And that was after I had gone through a divorce, a complete career change, had two teenagers with me coming through that whole chaos, and I was feeling like I was kind of coming out of the chaos. And just something in me told me I'm supposed to share that story. I'm supposed to share my story in a way that could help other women coming through similar chaotic times in life. And that's how I got started. And I had no plan of doing more books. But next thing I knew, I loved that one. I loved the whole process of sharing our story, putting it out in the world, and being a community in the book. And yeah, next thing you know, here we are about less than 5 years later, and I've participated in 20 books. Like I was mentioning earlier, I've got probably another 5 books that'll be out either by the end of the year or soon after that. So it's it's snowballing.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. Um, Many women have powerful stories to share, but feel hesitant to share them perhaps. What's the biggest mindset shift they need to make to step forward? Like what do you think it is?
There's definitely a few different things. One of them is definitely that feeling that their story's not big enough or important enough, and and just helping them to see that no matter what our journey has been, there are other women who can be helped by seeing our journey and learning from us. And another one that I find quite often is that imposter syndrome around being an author. And they'll have that dream to become an author, to put their story on paper, but that little voice in their head keeps saying, "Oh, you're not an author. Why do you think anybody would want to hear your story? You're not a writer." And so those are a couple of things that I run into quite often that hold people back from stepping in.
Okay. So, maybe for those who are thinking of becoming an author, um, tell us, maybe walk us through a journey from chapter concept to becoming a published. Like, how do you help them? What is it that you do so they can feel more comfortable, maybe reaching out to you and finding out more?
Yeah, so basically, my system, I come up with different themes and titles and then invite various women from literally all over the world who have stories that might fit under those titles. And then I work directly with each one of them as much as she feels she needs, as far as bringing out that story, focusing in on what part of her story would fit in that book. And then we got together, we reviewed different drafts and outlines and that kind of thing, and just giving feedback and helping them along the way to develop that. And then as part of the bigger process, when we have my books, I focus on having 20 people per book. So when we've got them mostly ready to go, we take the whole thing over to our publishing team, they've got all the professional editors, formatting people, graphic designers, marketing, and they put everything together for us, create a beautifully published book. So Amazon is our main system that we release through. We bring in different opportunities for podcasts and summits and other interviews. And one of the things that I've really noticed that differentiates part of what I'm doing from a lot of other similar books is that I really develop community within each book. So with each book, I have a group chat where all of the people involved can meet each other, can connect and communicate with each other, and I found that that's really made a big difference as far as really the experience that the different authors are having with the
Mhm.
book.
Yeah.
And with the book that my 20th book, today is actually the official launch day. And with that's somebody else's book. I'm just one of the authors in. And with that one, we didn't have any kind of communication within the group. We've had group meetings, but we're not connected in any way with each other. And this morning when I looked on Amazon and I saw we'd hit number 1, and I wanted to kind of post it somewhere and say, "Hey, you guys, look, we did it." But we've got no contacts. And so it's kind of a strange feeling that just really made me realize, how important it is to have direct contact and community inside each book.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I feel the same because I'm also part of doing the collaboration books. I've only done three compared to you, but it's definitely fun. But I also noticed that sometimes there's a situation where it seems like you're by yourself, right? And like nobody in my circle does really publish anything, so I'm here by myself. But when I reach out to other people who have similar interests and we talk to each other, that ripple effect happens. You connect with somebody, you're making connections around the world, not just um close by, and it feels so much different. You feel like you're finally maybe belonging or feeling uplifted, and you end up doing even more things you never expected yourself to do. And I believe it's really important. And that's why I also joined this community with Action Takers Publishing, because I noticed that we have the monthly meetings, but then we connect after that. And then some of the ladies I've even met in another city nearby, because all of a sudden I learned they were there. So it just spreads and it feels so good. It feels amazing. And then you just never know what you'll encounter next. So
Yeah.
I love that, because otherwise it can feel sometimes a little bit lonely. You know, when you're by yourself, it's like, yay, I'm number one. Okay, can somebody celebrate? That's why I also like
Yeah.
the parties we do, you know,
Good.
because you do connect. And I think that's what we're here for, to connect, to inspire one another, and live the life to the fullest, right? So
No,
you touched
exactly.
a little bit on this, but how have you seen storytelling transform the lives and careers, even maybe, of the women you work with?
Mhm. Yes, yes. And I would say most of the women in my books, this is the first time that they have published anything. And so for many of them, there's a real shift, like an internal shift, and especially around what's possible. Kind of like what you were mentioning, that they might have had a dream of becoming a published author, they might have had a dream of sharing their story, but had been kind of on the back burner with that feeling that, oh, I can't do this will never really happen, but oh, wouldn't that be nice. But when the book's actually published and they've got the book in their hand, there's a real shift in that feeling of what else is possible. I did this, I didn't think I could, what else can I do? Which
Mm-hmm.
I find is a huge part. And the other part that I really like to kind of lean into with my books is for those of us who are entrepreneurs, with the idea of how much becoming a published author, for one thing, just that in itself, to be able to put the word author, especially best-selling author, in your profiles and on your websites, that opens doors to opportunities that I like to say they're opportunities that you didn't even see before. So their doors were there, but you did not see them because they were not on your radar. They were not communities you were involved in. And so for me, that's one of the really huge values is as an entrepreneur, the visibility that it builds, the communities it takes you into, and just the opportunities that open up.
Amazing. And just to add a little thing, I remember years ago when I first came from doing a world tour. I was walking through the Indigo bookstore. I was like, wow, look at all these books. I was like, oh man, I wonder what it takes for all these people. And back then I had such a small thing. It's like, oh, California, the land of the dreams and all that. And here I'm standing, it's like, I'm just somebody looking at these books. How could I possibly even achieve something like this? Years later, talking now, find myself being number one international best-selling author 3 times, doing book signings. I'm like, yeah, if you told me that like 5 years ago, I would have been like laughing. I was like, no way, no way I will ever do that. But it is possible. We just have to sometimes, find the right connections, the people, and spread our wings. Because if you always sit in that box, you'll remain in that box. So you got to go out there, reach out, learn about things and how you can get involved. And I was always scared to do that until one day I said, no more. And I reached out and here we are talking about it. So, I love the process. Um, since we last talked, and I don't think I knew that, but you also do retreats or something like that. Can you tell us more about that?
Mm. Yeah, that's something I just started doing this year. So, the first one that I did in January of this year, we did a billboard in Times Square for one of my books. And of course, as soon as I did one for one of my books, a lot of my authors in other books were like, "Where's our billboard? We want a billboard too." And so now we're just in the process of making that all happen. So creating a retreat. So for those of us who can get together in person, we're there over like a 3-day period where we can do masterminding and fun things and really having fun in New York. But then we'll also have the billboard. So it's literally on Broadway in New York City, and we'll have a photographer come with us. So
Wow, that's so
so we'll have
exciting.
the billboard will be up there. We'll have there'll be probably 10 to 15 of us that can go in person, and then many other authors in the books have chosen to just attend virtually. So the billboard where I've chosen to have the billboard is viewable on a live stream camera. So 24/7, people can look and see live what's going on the street at that point. So we'll have, yes, so for this one, we've got, I think it's 5 different books in my collection that have the opportunity to be in that series. So the billboard will be several different frames that come up. So this frame will be ripple effect of impact. That frame will be midlife awakening. That frame will be midlife reimagine. There'll be another one that inspired metamorphosis is another one, and passion, purpose, and possibilities. So each of those books will have a different frame where the book will be in the center, and then a few of the authors along the side of the book. So that's what we're doing in November. And my plan is to do more of that kind of thing, but not necessarily with billboards, but retreats in different places around the world where women can come together and, learn from each other, enjoy each other's company. So
That's amazing. That sounds so good. Wow. Hopefully you do one nearby my area.
yes.
Toronto would
Well,
be
we've
a good
got
place
we've
too.
got 2 ladies coming from Australia and one coming
Wow.
from Germany. So,
That's amazing. So
and of course,
exciting.
coming from Vancouver is probably just as far as coming from Germany, almost. It's like,
Wow, that's amazing. I can't wait to see pictures and things like that. So that's going to be so much fun. And you're about to launch actually Passion, Purpose, and Possibilities. What inspired this particular theme?
actually, that one started. I met a woman whose podcast is actually named Passion, Purpose, and Possibilities.
Wow.
And I was a guest on her show, and we got talking about it. And of course, she had had her show for a few years and had many people who had been on it. So we decided, well, let's start a book, and you can invite all of your people who have been on your show. And of course, so some of the people that are in the book were from her podcast, and then others are just from all over the place and with women who have passions and purpose and possibilities to share. So yes, that will be the next one that comes out.
Oh, that's amazing. What advice would you give someone who feels they've lost maybe their sense of passion or purpose in life?
Reconnect with other women who are doing those things that excite you. And yes, one of my favorite quotes is don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive
I
and go
love that.
do that. Because what the world needs is more people who have come alive. So to me, that's what it's about, remembering or rediscovering. Sometimes it's something different now than it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that makes you come alive and connect with communities of other people who are doing those kinds of things, or at least encouraging you to step into yours. So
Yeah, I love that. So, in your experience, what's the most unexpected benefit women gain from participating in your collaboration books?
let's see, unexpected. I would say one of the things that I've heard quite often is there is almost a therapeutic part of putting your story on paper and releasing it out into the world. And and that's the one thing that I've heard from quite a few people. They weren't expecting that they thought they were just going to write it down, it's going to get released, off it goes. But there was a real shift internally in them from that whole process. And so I would say that's one of the most unexpected
Mhm.
shifts.
Wow, amazing. So, could you give us a glimpse to what your chapter is gonna be in this upcoming book? What's the title of your chapter?
Oh, the title. I can't even remember what the title is. I've got so many different ones. They all just kind of blur together, but
Do you
it's
have
definitely
do you have the launch date yet for that book?
not yet. We're just finishing the edits right now, so we'll be setting a launch date in the next week or so. So that's
Okay. So
coming up
what's
soon. But mine was really focused around how, over the last 10 years, especially, really everything that I'm doing now has come out of following my passions and stepping into new possibilities.
mm,
And so that's a big part of what I write about in mine.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to read it when it comes out. So maybe tell our listeners what's the best way to get in touch with you, and are there any books you're still looking for people to join in? Like I know you have lots of but what's the next couple books you're working on? Maybe it'll spark somebody's interest.
Yes, yes. So the one that we're just filling the last few spots in is called Inspired Metamorphosis. So that one's all women sharing how they have gone through transformations in life, and many of them are now helping others go through their own transformation. Another one that I've got going on right now is for men and women, and this one's called From Inspiration to Success, the Entrepreneurial Journey. So
Oh,
that will be all entrepreneurs who are sharing their own journey as an entrepreneur and then sharing some tips or tools or strategies that would help the reader to on their own journey. And I've got a couple other ones. One is Rooted in Resilience, and another one is She Thrives. Those
wow,
are the
amazing topics.
so those are the ones that are open for people to jump into. And yes, so connecting with me, my website is inspiredtenacity.com. And on there, there's different tabs. There's one tab that lists all the different books I have available at that time. It's always kept up to date as new projects come up. There's a tab on there for gifts. So on there, you can book a time with me. You can also download PDF copies of some of my books. So that's all free to do. And of course, there's tabs for each one of my books that is open right now to get more details and specifics on the project.
Awesome. Sounds amazing. So the name of the podcast is Rise and Thrive Mornings with Intention. How important do you think it is to set intention first thing in the morning?
It is very important, and I definitely sometimes I miss doing that, and I definitely notice it when I don't do it. And you realize you're kind of going through the day with just kind of doing things randomly and then reflecting back and realizing, okay, what's my attention? What are my priorities? What's my focus in all of this other stuff? So very important.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today, Cathy. And I'm looking forward to seeing what is coming up next. And follow us and subscribe so you don't miss anything. And I wish everybody a beautiful day. And we'll see you guys soon again. Thank you so much, Cathy. And
Thank
everyone have a
you.
wonderful day. Thank you.